The creation of the Rings of Power. In the Second Age of Middle-earth, the Dark Lord Sauron, disguised as Annatar, the Lord of Gifts, deceived the elven smiths of Eregion into forging the Rings of Power. In secret, within the fires of Mount Doom, he forged the One Ring, into which he poured a great part of his malignant power to control all other rings and dominate the free peoples. The Last Alliance. When Sauron revealed his true nature, elves and men formed an alliance led by the elven king Gil-galad and the human king Elendil. They marched against Mordor in a war that lasted for decades, culminating in the Battle of Dagorlad at the very gates of the Black Land. Isildur cuts the ring. In the final battle, Gil-galad and Elendil were slain by Sauron, but Isildur, son of Elendil, used the shards of the sword Narsil to cut the One Ring from Sauron's finger. Sauron lost his physical form, but his spirit endured. The loss of the ring. Despite the counsel of Elrond and Círdan, Isildur refused to destroy the ring in the fires of Mount Doom, claiming it wurgiled for the death of his father and brother. Years later, during an orc ambush at the Gladden Fields, Isildur was killed, and the ring was lost in the waters of the river Anduin. The ring is found. 2 millennia later, around the year 2463 of the Third Age, the hobbit Dégol found the ring while fishing in the Anduin. His cousin Sméagol, fascinated by the object, murdered Dégol to keep the birthday present. Gollum goes into hiding. Corrupted by the ring's power, Sméagol was banished from his community and took refuge in the depths of the Misty Mountains. There, in the darkness of the caves, he transformed into the creature Gollum, guarding his precious for nearly 500 years. Bilbo Baggins finds the ring. During the events of The Hobbit in 2941 TA, Bilbo became lost in the tunnels of the Misty Mountains and stumbled upon the ring by chance. In his famous riddle game with Gollum, he discovered that the ring granted invisibility and managed to escape. The ring returns to the Shire. Bilbo returned to Bag End as a transformed hobbit, using the ring occasionally to avoid troublesome relatives. The ring prolonged his life beyond the norm, but he did not visibly age, causing unease among other hobbits. Frodo inherits the ring. On his 111th birthday, Bilbo left the Shire in a dramatic fashion, using the ring to disappear during his farewell party. He willed all his possessions to Frodo, including the ring, though he initially struggled to part with it. Gandalf grows suspicious. The wizard began to investigate the true nature of Bilbo's ring. He traveled to Minas Tirith to study ancient archives and consulted Saruman, the head of his order. The revelation. After 17 years of research, Gandalf returned to the Shire in 3018 TA and tested the ring in the hearth fire. Inscriptions in Elvish appeared, confirming it was the One Ring. He revealed to Frodo that Sauron was rising again and that the Nazgul were already searching for the ring. Frodo accepts the mission. Understanding the gravity, Frodo decided to leave the Shire immediately. His gardener and loyal friend Samwise Gamgee, who had overheard the conversation secretly, vowed to accompany him. Meeting Merry and Pippin. Merry Brandybuck and Peregrine Took. Pippin discovered Frodo's plans and insisted on joining the journey. The 4 hobbits departed in September of 3018 TA. The Black Riders, the 9 Nazgul, servants of Sauron, entered the Shire searching for Baggins. The hobbits had several chilling encounters as they traveled through the Green Lands. Escape to Bree. After meeting elves and a close call with the Nazgul on Weathertop, they reached the village of Bree. There they were supposed to meet Gandalf, but he did not appear. Unexpected help. At the Inn of the Prancing Pony, they met a mysterious man named Strider, Aragorn, who offered to guide them. Attack of the Nazgul. Nazgul attacked the inn during the night. Frodo was tempted to use the ring but resisted. They escaped to the outskirts with Aragorn's help. Rivendell or death. Aragorn guided the hobbits through the wild lands, avoiding main roads. They were constantly pursued. Frodo's wounding. On the hilltop of Weathertop, the Nazgul caught up with them. Frodo was stabbed with a Morgul blade that began drawing him into the world of shadows. Meeting Glorfindel. A powerful elf sent by Elrond found them and aided their escape. While crossing the river Bruinen, he invoked enchanted waters that swept the Nazgul away. Healing in Rivendell. Elrond, Lord of Rivendell, used all his elven art to remove the shard of the blade and heal Frodo, who was on the verge of turning into a wraith. The Council of Elrond. In October 3018, representatives of elves, dwarves, and men gathered in Rivendell. Frodo volunteered to take the ring to Mordor. The Fellowship of the Ring. 9 companions were chosen to represent the free peoples of Middle-earth. Gandalf, Aragorn, Boromir of Gondor, Legolas the elf, Gimli the dwarf, and the 4 hobbits. Departure from Rivendell. In December they set out southward, planning to cross the Misty Mountains via the Redhorn Pass. The storm on Caradhras, a supernatural storm likely caused by Saruman, forced them to turn back. They decided to traverse the mines of Moria. The hidden door of Moria, they found the elven door in the mountains. Gandalf discovered the opening words, "Friend." The attack of the Watcher in the water. A aquatic creature attacked before they could enter, nearly catching Frodo. The abandoned mines. They entered the vast, dark chambers of Moria, once a magnificent dwarven kingdom, now inhabited by orcs and other creatures. The tomb of Balin. They found the chamber where Balin, companion of Bilbo, had tried to re-establish the kingdom. His book of records told a tragic tale. The orc attack. They were attacked by hordes of orcs and a cave troll. The Fellowship fought desperately. The appearance of the Balrog, an ancient creature of shadow and flame, emerged from the depths. A Balrog, a demon from the First Age. The Bridge of Khazad-dûm. Gandalf faced the Balrog on the narrow bridge, breaking it with his staff. "You cannot pass." The fall of Gandalf. The Balrog dragged Gandalf into the abyss. The Fellowship fled, mourning the loss of the wizard. Arrival in Lothlorien. Grieving, they reached the elven wood of Lothlorien, ruled by Lady Galadriel and Lord Celeborn. The elves welcome. They were initially met with suspicion, but Galadriel allowed them to rest and heal. Galadriel's test. She offered each member of the Fellowship the chance to turn back and receive their secret desire. All were tested. Galadriel's mirror. Frodo looked into the mirror and saw terrifying visions of the future, including Middle-earth enslaved. Gifts from Galadriel. They received magical gifts. Elven cloaks, ropes, and for Frodo the light of Erendel that shines in the dark. Departure from Lorien. In January 3019, they departed in elven boats down the river Anduin, pursued by the eyes of Sauron. The Rapids of Anduin. They navigated dangerous rapids while Gollum secretly followed them along the shore. The Hill of Amon Hen. They reached the Argonath, the giant statues of kings of old. They prepared to decide their course. The temptation of Boromir. Boromir, corrupted by the ring's proximity, tried to convince Frodo to give him the ring to save Gondor. The attack of the Uruk-hai. As Frodo fled, orcs from Isengard attacked the camp. Merry and Pippin distracted them to help Frodo escape. The death of Boromir. Boromir redeemed himself by defending the hobbits to his last breath. He died in Aragorn's arms. The breaking of the Fellowship. Aragorn, Legolas, and Gimli decided to pursue the orcs who had captured Merry and Pippin. Frodo and Sam set out alone for Mordor. The pursuit begins. The three hunters ran for days without rest across the plains of Rohan. Meeting Eomer. They met Eomer and his riders, who reported having killed all the orcs near the borders of Fangorn Forest. Entering Fangorn. Desperate, they entered the ancient forest searching for the hobbits. The rebirth of Gandalf. They encountered a man dressed in white who revealed himself as Gandalf, returned after defeating the Balrog. The escape of Merry and Pippin. The hobbits escaped into Fangorn during the confusion of the riders' attack. Meeting Treebeard. They met the Ent Treebeard, who took them to meet other Ents. The Entmoot. The Ents held a 3-day assembly to decide on war against Saruman. The attack on Isengard. The Ents marched on Isengard, destroying dams and machines, flooding the valley. The journey to Edoras. Gandalf and company went to the capital of Rohan, where King Theoden was under Saruman's spell. The liberation of Theoden. Gandalf broke Saruman's spell, revealing that Grima Wormtongue had been poisoning the king. The evacuation of Edoras. Theoden decided to lead his people to the fortress of Helm's Deep. The Battle of Helm's Deep. Forces of Rohan resisted a massive army of Uruk-hai during a terrible night. Theoden's charge. At dawn, Theoden led a heroic charge alongside Aragorn. The unexpected victory. Gandalf arrived with reinforcements from Erkenbrand, turning the battle. Return to Isengard. They found Merry and Pippin resting among the ruins of Isengard, guarded by the Ents. The confrontation with Saruman. Gandalf offered Saruman a chance at redemption, which was refused. Gandalf broke his staff and expelled him from the Order. Grima's betrayal. Grima threw a palantir from Orthanc to kill Gandalf, but missed. The journey of Frodo and Sam. Meanwhile, the two hobbits descended the Eamon Mule, a region of treacherous canyons. The capture of Gollum. Frodo and Sam captured Gollum, who had been following them. Frodo showed pity, making Gollum swear to serve him. The passage of the Dead Marshes. Gollum guided them through the Dead Marshes, full of specters and phantom lights. The Black Gate. They reached the main gate of Mordor, but it was impossibly guarded by towers and armies. The alternative path. Gollum suggested a secret passage through Cirith Ungol, though he hesitated to mention the tunnel's guardian. Meeting Faramir, Boromir's brother captured them in Ithilien but proved wiser than his brother. The window of the sunset. Faramir took them to an elven hideout with a view of a beautiful waterfall. Temptation resisted. Faramir discovered the ring but resisted the temptation, learning from Boromir's error. The attack of the Haradrim. They witnessed a battle between Gundor's soldiers and southern warriors with a giant Mumikil. Departure from Ithilien. Faramir let them go with provisions, warning them of the dangers of Cirith Ungol. The ascent to Cirith Ungol. Gollum led them through secret paths to the abandoned elven watchtower. Gollum's betrayal. Gollum planned to lead Frodo into the lair of Shelob, the giant spider. Shelob's venom. Shelob stung Frodo, paralyzing him with her venom that induced a death-like coma. Sam's bravery. Sam used the elven blade and the light of Galadriel to wound Shelob and save Frodo. Frodo's capture. Orcs found Frodo seemingly dead and carried him to the Tower of Cirith Ungol. Sam the rescuer. Sam infiltrated the tower in disguise, learning that Frodo was alive but imprisoned. Escape from the tower. Sam rescued Frodo during a fight among orcs, and they fled into the plains of Mordor. The orc disguise. They wore orc armor for camouflage while crossing the arid plain of Gorgoroth. The exhausting march. They walked for days with little water or food under a threatening, clouded sky. Sight of Mount Doom. They finally sighted the volcano where they must destroy the ring, still days away. The siege of Gondor. Meanwhile, Minas Tirith was besieged by massive armies of Sauron. The charge of the Rohirrim. Theoden led 6,000 riders in a heroic charge on the Pelennor Fields. The Battle of the Pelennor Fields. The greatest battle of the Third Age with terrible losses on both sides. The death of Theoden. Theoden was killed by the Witch King, but his niece Eowyn, disguised, slew the spectre with Merry's help. Aragorn's arrival. Aragorn arrived with reinforcements by river, bringing also the army of the dead who fulfilled their oath. Victory in Gondor. Sauron's forces were defeated, but the war was not yet won. The final effort. Aragorn decided to march on the Black Gate to distract Sauron from the true threat. The march to the Black Gate. 7,000 men marched to a suicidal battle at the gates of Mordor. The gate opens. The Black Gate opened, revealing an immense army of orcs, trolls and other creatures. The final clash. A desperate battle began where all believed they would die. The final ascent. Frodo and Sam climbed the slopes of Mount Doom, with Frodo growing progressively weaker. The ring's corruption. The ring became unbearably heavy, and Frodo crawled over the volcanic rock. The moment of truth. Inside the cracks of doom, Frodo declared, "I do not choose to do this. The ring is mine," and put it on. Gollum's intervention. Gollum attacked Frodo, biting off his finger and reclaiming the ring, but fell into the lava with a cry of triumph. The destruction of the ring. The ring was destroyed, causing a chain reaction that toppled towers and dissolved armies. Rescue by the eagles. Gwaihir and other eagles rescued Frodo and Sam from the erupting Mount Doom. The coronation of the king. Aragorn was crowned King Elisar of Gondor, beginning the golden age of the reunited kingdom. The return to the Shire. The hobbits returned to find their home devastated by Sharky, Saruman, but they led a rebellion that restored peace. Frodo, however, never fully healed and departed with the elves for the west, leaving the Shire in Sam's capable hands.